let's talk about the benefits of shared storage in these workflows. And this is something, in talking to Dave and talking to a lot of the systems engineers and various sales territory managers over at NewTek, network storage connectivity has been one of the hottest requests in the last 4 years or so. And here it finally is. So what is network storage? Well, it's the ability to have shared storage devices where you've got multiple TriCasters, multiple workstations, all connecting to that same recording media at the same time. So kind of in the past and, up until NAB this year, kind of your TriCaster workflows and your anything outside of that really had to exist separate. You would record locally to that TriCaster. It records those hard drives that are built in. And then what you would have to do is you'd kind of copy that data after a record, move that data around manually. This is what we kind of, the storage geeks refer to as a push-pull network. So it's okay, but there's much better ways to do that. I mean, this is why network storage was invented, to get away from this type of workflow. So what you can do now with Platform, it actually enables you to, rather than recording directly to those disks on the TriCaster, you're now able to record directly to the network volumes. So this opens up all sorts of benefits. So kind of the two biggest core things that this does for you is it gives you much higher level of data protection. First and foremost, now you're recording to RAID protected volumes that can automatically be archived, automatically be synced and replicated to other storage. Your level of data protection just skyrockets, which is so critical these days. It's everything that our business exists on are just these data files, so we've got to protect those. The other thing it does, which is where people get much more excited, because data protection, it's critical, but it's not that exciting sometimes. But what is pretty exciting is the workflow benefits that it opens up. And we'll dive into some of those specifically here soon. But just as a quick example, if you're recording, 8 separate ISOs on a TriCaster 8000, you've got to allocate 2. You can't do more than 2 of those ISOs per hard drive that you're recording to. Well, you can make that much easier with this type of setup. You can record all 8 ISOs directly to a single volume. You can have get rid of that push-pull step. You can have immediate access, whether that's to other NewTek devices. If you're mixing a TriCaster and a 3-play into the same workflow, or if you've got some post-production needs, you need to take that same material and really utilize it in a more of a post environment, you can have immediate access to those files. So this really opens up much higher end workflows than have been available in the past. So how this works is really simple. We actually connect to just the built-in Ethernet port that's already on your TriCaster. So this makes it really easy to connect. You can connect directly to a platform. Platform also has built-in Ethernet ports, or you can go through a switch. I think most people are going through switches just for the fact that it allows you to connect to a lot of other different devices. It allows you to stream over the web, of course, and then, of course, connect to all of your other workstations as well. So the idea here and the point here, though, is this: it's very simple. You don't have to add anything. It's not an option on TriCaster. That connectivity is built in and just uses those standard Cat5e gigabit Ethernet cables that if you're like most of our customers, you've got about 20 of those sitting around. We're able to get up to 8 ISOs recording all at the same time, and I'll go over the specs here in a second. There's a couple advantages that we have and why we get such great performance out of that built-in Ethernet port. And the first is our low latency protocol. So What we really did is we built our platform server on a Windows 2012 infrastructure, and then we used standard networking, but we took those standard networking protocols and we tuned them in a way that allows us to get zero latency. So this is kind of our magic potion, our secret sauce as far as how we get this video performance that you need, which if you've ever tried to set up a network server and just using vanilla products out there, might be great for opening Word documents, but when it comes to video, they just fall apart. So that's kind of how we get that video performance you need. And it was also advantageous for us that we've got a Windows backbone. TriCasters are built on the Windows platform as well. Made everything just very easy working together. So let's talk specifically about performance and scalability. And actually, before I get into this, just a quick reminder: we do have that chat window. I'm not paying attention to it, but that is there. If you've got questions, it looks like some people have some questions coming in. So keep feeding those. And Dave and David, if you guys ever want to interrupt me for any of those questions, feel free. So performance and scale. Excellent. So as far as performance and scalability goes, we've got the ability to do up to 8 ISO recordings and two playback streams per NewTek device. So how many devices and how many total streams you can get all kind of depends on a lot of factors, but the real quick rules of thumb is we've got 2 separate versions of the platform that are supported in this workflow. Right now you're looking at the Studio, that kind of square box up there at the top. That's our system for smaller work groups. It's great for like 2 to 8 users. Fantastic little box, and that can support 2 NewTek devices, and that could be 2 TriCaster 8000s, that could be a couple 3 plays, and in fact, depending on what you're doing with those, you can get more than just 2 devices on that. So, for instance, if you've got 4000 series, you can get 4 of those on there. So. Really working with us, working with our reseller partners to know those specs is the best way to know for sure. But our platform online, this is really a much more enterprise storage solution. So I'll kind of glaze over some of the details of that, but this is our higher end product that can support up to 4 NewTek devices on a single chassis there. So if you want to look at this kind of from a stream count standpoint, which is actually probably a little bit more accurate, because if you've got a couple 410s, then you're not going to be pushing that many ISOs anyhow. So there's a couple different formats that the NewTek records in. We kind of picked probably the 2 most popular that we've seen in the marketplace, and here's just a couple stream counts so you can kind of figure out what you can do on your own. So, it's pretty sweet. On that platform online, you can have up to 35 ISOs all happening simultaneously. So pretty impressive performance with these. And of course, you can mix and match these systems to be alongside your Premiere Pro, After Effects, Final Cut Pro, Avid systems. They all play very well together. So as far as scalability goes from kind of a storage standpoint, so we looked a little bit at performance with NewTek devices there. Scalability from a performance standpoint, this is a little chart I grabbed off of our website. I always find charts fun. I love them. I don't know why. But the platform online, that more enterprise, that guy scales up to about 3 petabytes. The nearline, which I've not talked about yet, let's skip that and go to the Studio. That one's, again, for smaller work groups, that scales up to about 96 terabytes, but still pretty good scalability for those smaller work groups. The nearline, I'll just kind of mention this product. This is actually not supported for NewTek workflows as far as recording ISOs and playing back video feeds directly from it. Our nearline product is really just about dense storage. So it's really a tier 2 backup server, and that one scales up to 25 petabytes. It's insane. But but for all intents and purposes, we're focused on the NewTek stuff right now. So one pretty cool thing is as you scale your storage, you can actually scale performance. So this is a little graphic here. Each platform server, each platform online server supports up to 3 additional expansion chassis. So these are each 16-bay expansions. You can support up to 4 16-bay chassis, which is 1 server and 3 expansions. But the cool thing is, and why we limit it at that number is because we can grow exponentially in both storage and performance. So, we go back to that concept. Let me scroll back up here. We go back to 35 ISO records all happening at the same time on that 420 format. Well, if we needed 70, we could achieve that with a platform and an expansion. So you've got a great ability to scale performance and storage at the same time. So that's all kind of some baseline knowledge, and that's all kind of theoretical specs, all that stuff. That's cool. I love example workflows. They help me kind of picture this stuff, how you could use it. So of course you could, and I probably should have put up one of these example workflows. You can just have a TriCaster, a single TriCaster going to a single platform studio, recording those ISOs, you're good to go. That's going to give you a lot of speed. It's going to give you a lot more data protection. It's going to allow those files to be on the network immediately, instantly available for everybody. That's a pretty straightforward workflow. So a couple kind of cool ways you can kind of change up this stuff is this is an example of kind of a mission critical feed. So this is, we actually take the output from a camera, split that SDI signal and go into 2 separate TriCasters. Both of those TriCasters can be recording, and this is pretty cool. You can record the same ISOs at the same time to your TriCaster and to the platform. So really creating a lot more redundancy in that file path. But in this particular workflow example, we're splitting that SDI signal, recording both of those simultaneously to that same platform, to the same storage volume. So literally, we can have the storage server, the platform, that can fail, not that it ever would, but that can fail, and you've still got your data. You can have one of these TriCasters fail, and you've still got a backup TriCaster over here. And to really put an exclamation point on this workflow, in a lot of real time, this is something that you might see in like a very advanced house of worship workflow, or you might see this with like a, at a convention that needs to, the Republican National Convention, and they need to output this stuff quick, or a sports stadium where they need to output some replays pretty quick. You can actually, if you've got these camera feeds coming in, you want to protect this data as it's coming in. You don't want to really mess with this. You can actually set this up to replicate in real time, and it'll actually replicate these files as they're coming in to a second platform server, which then you can access all of those files in real time from either NLE systems or another TriCaster. The point is you can create this pretty high-end broadcast workflow with a lot of components that are pretty inexpensive, creating this very protected, very nice for mission critical and fast output type of workflow. So it's a pretty cool stuff you can do with that. This is one that I was actually, there's one of the systems engineers over at NewTek, Kane Peterson. He and I were chatting and just talking about, a lot of customers are asking about 4K now. And 4K is actually starting to get a little bit of wheels on it. It's not like 3D that just kind of fell apart, but it seems to be becoming real. So a lot of customers are starting to ask about that. Well, right now, TriCaster does not support that. I have no idea if they ever will. Not for me to say, but what I do know is you can do a very similar workflow where, again, you're splitting the output of that camera. You can have your HD feed going into the TriCaster, recording direct to that shared storage for all those benefits. And then at the same time, we actually have an option on our platform servers that allows you to ingest directly via SDI. So you can simultaneously capture that raw 4K material directly to the platform. So you're pushing out your broadcast workflow, you're streaming that over the web, while at the same time you're capturing those files directly via 4K to your platform server. So some pretty cool options. You know, there's a lot of different workflows that we could go over. The cool thing about this stuff is every workflow is always unique on some level. So the nice thing is now technology is really getting to a point, and these systems are really getting to a point where they're, you know, building blocks that we can, you know, all the time we have customers coming to us, oh, I'd love to be able to do this because it would enable me to save the world. And you can usually figure out how to do that. So it's pretty sweet. So I do want to talk a little bit about some of the other uses of platform because, you know, at the end of the day, the shared storage stuff is great and it's really critical. But that's really just kind of the tip of the iceberg of the platform server products. We're kind of starting to change our marketing into the idea of a workflow server rather than a shared storage server. And quite frankly, it's because it does so much more than shared storage, and that's what we built it to do. So you might see us market this as modularity or this or that, but all marketing aside, what it really means is we've built platform to do a lot more than just shared storage. Shared storage is the core of it. But we get into a lot of really cool advanced workflows, you know, offloading transcodes and encodes, offloading renders, asset management systems, data backup, archival, replication, all these really advanced things that you don't get out of most shared storage servers. So the cool thing is, you know, we're talking about, you know, here's kind of a classic TriCaster platform workflow. You're using your TriCasters, you're live streaming, you know, you've got a couple editing systems, maybe some After Effects systems connected to the same network. They're doing their work. They might be doing some work alongside the TriCasters, et cetera, et cetera. In this scenario, you know, we're using platform as kind of a big dumb storage server, and it's really good at that. And I shouldn't downplay that too much when I say big dumb. You know, it's one of about half a dozen storage servers that can actually handle real video performance in the world. So there's a lot of benefit there, but where it gets really, really cool and where it really starts to become part of the core infrastructure of your facility is in that idea of what else can we use this for. So just as examples, you know, we talked about those two file formats that the TriCaster works in natively. Well, maybe that's not the file formats that you're using at your facility. Maybe you want your mezzanine file format is ProRes, or maybe you need to output, you know, your final deliverables need to be in ProRes. Well, platform can not only, you can record those NewTek file formats directly to the platform. You can actually set platform up so as soon as that file is created, platform on its own starts encoding that file over to ProRes. So that's one, not taking up a workstation to do that, and two, it's just happening automatically in the background. There's so much of these workflows that you can automate now, and platform really enables you to do a lot of that. So in addition to that, you know, everything from a lot of our customers use platform to offload their After Effects or Cinema 4D renders, or these kind of heavy graphics renders that require high-end processing, and they want to be able to use their, you know, their graphics and editorial workstations while that data is being crunched. Well, you know, let's not only centralize our storage, let's centralize our processing power too. So there's so many cool workflows you can get into that, and you know, I just want to drive home the point of you can really use these so much more beyond just shared storage. So that is all I have for today. So let's get in some Q&A. We've got, looks like we've got about 5 minutes here. So Dave and David, I actually can't unmute you. Let's, here, You should be unmuted now.
You should be unmuted. Can you hear me? Hey, Nate, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I've got you now.
Excellent. So I've got a couple of questions here. The first one is from Adam, actually. He says, we have our TriCaster connected to a switch. Will the ProMAX system support direct record and playback via that switch, especially if there's going to be other devices connected to that network?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And so you can utilize switches with the platform. You know, it does have to be a low latency switch. So that's really critical when it comes to anything film or video related. Low latency switch is absolutely required. That said, most low latency switches will work just fine with this. So a general rule of thumb, and this is way oversimplifying it, but as long as it's not kind of, you know, a $300 Netgear switch that you got at Best Buy, you know, if it's a real managed layer 2 low latency switch, you'll be fine. So that's kind of a good rule of thumb.
Hey, Nate, this is Dave from NewTek. Do you offer any specific suggestions on brands and models of switches for folks?
You know, there are a couple that we officially support, and if you're interested, I can certainly get a list of those over to any customer that has those. Generally, we just really do that on a one-off basis because everybody's got a different switch. But I know there's a couple Dell Power Connects that we support. I know there's some, I know a lot of our customers have integrated these with Cisco switches. We've worked, we directly support Interface Master switches. But again, there's a lot of customers have come to us said, hey, this is the switch I have and it'll work just fine.
Okay. Next one?
Sure.
All right, this one's from Mark. Mark asks, if someone has uploaded a media file like a movie to the platform, can the TriCaster convert into a live broadcast, or can it only do that while we're not broadcasting?
That's a great question. Dave, do you know how once a project is live, do you know how the TriCaster is refreshing media? Because I've never actually tried that.
Well, there's a couple of ways that could work. If the media location on the server has already been added to the session, then anything that's added to that will refresh. If the media location, for example, a folder on a volume on the server has not been added to the session, you can, while you're live, browse directly to the file if you need to, and load the file into one of the TriCaster's DDRs using that method.
Okay, cool. And sorry about some of those audio things here, guys. We're just muting and unmuting people. Try to minimize that as much as possible. So, David, is there any more questions?
Yeah, just one more. This is from Derek. Derek asks, if a customer already has a storage system like an existing SAN or a NAS, can that be repurposed somehow? Can they reuse that somehow in the workflow, even if it can't, be used with TriCaster to record directly?
Yeah, cool. Man, another good question. So yes, the short answer is yes. The long answer is platform will allow you to use any locally attached storage to be managed by platform. So what that means is any, whether it's like for instance on our studio, we've got Thunderbolt ports built into the platform studio, so a Thunderbolt device, FireWire, USB, on the larger side of things, SAS, smaller side again, eSATA, or fiber channel. You can connect any of those types of storage systems directly to a platform and then allow platform to manage that. Now, could you record directly to that media through your platform? Absolutely. We would not be able to guarantee performance specs on that. It would really just depend on what kind of storage it is. But in general, if it was, eSATA, SAS, or fiber channel, it'd probably be pretty fast and it'd probably give you pretty solid performance. If it was just a little FireWire drive that you were plugging into, you could access it, and I'm really guessing here, but you might get, 1 or 2 ISO records out of that over the network. But yeah, you could absolutely repurpose that storage.
Okay, great. The next one is from Earl, and this is a question about the HD SDI direct capture to platform. And Earl wants to know if we have our own capture software or our own capture cards. How does that work?
Absolutely. So we do not. We are actually an OEM partner with Bluefish Technologies. They've got some really great options for SDI ingest. So we partner up directly with them. However, I will say it is in our pipeline that we are going to be building the capture into our user interface directly, so that when you are doing that SDI input, you'll be able to see those captures from anywhere on the network. However, right now, that's still 6 months out. Right now, at this exact date, you would actually have to log into the platform server directly and utilize the Bluefish interface to do that capture. So very cool. Well, were there any others, David? It looks like we got most of them.
Yeah, those were the main ones. I think I got everything else in the chat. Thanks, Nate.
Awesome. Well, again, Dave, David, everybody, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure, and we appreciate you guys spending your time with us. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to either Dave, Paige, or myself, and we're happy to answer anything offline for you. Thanks so much, and have a great day.
It's been a pleasure.